Hello, welcome to WION special series on the World Economic Forum. I'm Shreya Upadhyay. It's day 2 at Davos, and one of the big themes this time around is artificial intelligence. All of us use AI in some form or the other, knowingly and or unknowingly. It is impacting our routine, our jobs, essentially our life. And so if you've been concerned about how you can survive this supposed AI onslaught, the next 25 minutes are for you. The WEF's Future of Jobs Report 2025 positions the global workforce at a crossroads. As per this report, 22% of all current jobs will be transformed by 2030. While that's good news for tech evolution, it has been a very concerning change for those who have been laid off due to AI replacing them at work. Today, people are more than twice as likely to add AI skills than back in 2018. Sample this. Since 2023, the number of AI literacy skills that were added by LinkedIn members has increased by 177%. However, here's the paradox. The greater adoption of technology also means more human skills in demand. But do companies around the world that are laying off employees value human skills at the moment? And not just adults. Kids are being taught by robots as well. Is that helpful? And is generative AI reliable? Before I get in my guest to answer all of these questions for us, take a look at this report.
It's difficult to see the picture when you're inside the frame. The 2020s will go down in history as a time when artificial intelligence entered the workplace.
We're a wonderful, incredibly complicated machine, but we're just a big neural net. And there's no reason why an artificial neural net shouldn't be able to do everything we can do.
And here we are for the first time, really in human history, with something that's going to be far more intelligent than us.
This is really one of the first major times in history a new computing model has been developed and created.
A time in which artificial intelligence began taking giant strides towards acquiring human-like cognition. AI imbibed all our intelligence, our skills, and even our prejudices. It empowered those who chose to work with it and amplified their abilities.
I find it very cool personally, and I'm a fan of this new technology because it just opens a new gate for all the creative things that you could do with it.
Now the paradigm is shifting again as AI moves up the ranks. What happens when AI is no longer a team member but makes all the calls, from productivity to creativity, from hiring to opportunity? It's about how we see our place in the new AI-human shared workplace and the very nature of what we consider work.
What I'm getting at is that I don't think we should let the technology scare us. I think you don't become a slave to technology.
And our assistant editor for Foreign Affairs, Siddhant Sibbal, is joining us live on the broadcast all the way from Davos. Remember, he's been tracking every pulse of the story minute by minute for us. Let me go across to him and ask him what has been happening there. Siddhant, a good day, day 2 of Davos. I see you're standing in front of the AI house. Get us all that has been happening as far as artificial intelligence is concerned. It's a big theme. It's a big topic of discussion, a big talking point around the world. What is happening there at the moment?
Well, Shreya, where I am standing is one of the key nerve centers in terms of AI. AI is the dominating factor, and we have the AI house. In fact, with me are several people who are joining to come inside the AI house. Ma'am, if you would like to speak to us on the interest, you are just waiting in front of the AI house. So what motivates you to come here, and what's inside AI house, if you can perhaps talk about it?
Well, I think there is no secret that AI is a big topic globally, and one of my motivations is really to learn not that the AI is important and just general information, but really acquire the capital knowledge on what are the emerging themes so I can bring it back to my clients. And specifically, I know AI House is one of the best houses to be in.
Mm-hmm. And do you use AI in your daily lives?
Yes.
Like, can you give an example?
No, it's a secret.
Okay,
You can
okay.
ask ChatGPT about it.
Okay. In fact, we all use AI regularly, as ma'am mentioned, ChatGPT, and that essentially is the big focus this time around. AI is changing the world for better or worse, and this is something that has become part and parcel of our daily lives. And this time around at Davos, this is the key focus area. In fact, we know that India is going to host the AI summit next month, and it has already dished out invites to 100 countries, in fact 140 countries, of which 100 countries have confirmed the presence, and almost 10 heads of state and head of government level representation is expected, including the French President Emmanuel Macron in Delhi for the big AI summit. Before that, we saw the French hosting it in February of 2025, and focus essentially is to form rules and how to engage with it, keeping in mind the issues that impact the world, including the issue of sovereignty.
Absolutely, Siddhant, and quite secretive. Our guest on the show has been as far as our AI use is concerned, but we all know that at some point, at some level, we're all using AI in our daily lives. And I was coming to this next. As far as India is concerned, yes, our focus is on artificial intelligence. There's been a lot of concern around the world as far as laying off people due to AI replacing them is also concerned. What is India talking about at the moment as far as AI concerned there at Davos? Any pitch from our side?
Well, essentially, we will hear more on what's India's position on AI, especially at the summit. Here, of course, the Indian chief ministers and the Indian businesses are hoping to get more investment, including in the AI sector. But one thing that everyone is waiting for in February is India's own sovereign AI model. This is something that India has been working on, and in February there will be an official announcement regarding it. Yes, there is an understandable challenge over AI impacting lives. In fact, Grok is something that has helped many, but India has raised concerns over what has happened in past few weeks, and the Indian IT ministry has raised the matter as well. But that is something that we will see, we will hear more. But before I leave, I'll show you pictures of the AI house. My camera person Neeraj Patel will show you the pictures of the AI house, which is one of the key showstopper here. And in fact, if my camera person can show you the line in front of the AI house, I'll try to go inside the AI house if I get time, but it looks like it's a pretty long line for many who have come here at the World Economic Forum to visit this particular landmark place.
Absolutely. We'll have to wait and watch, Siddhant, if you're able to get your hands on with some sort of robot, some sort of AI there. But thanks very much for joining us at the moment and getting us the latest from AI House. Remember, this has been, of course, a cause of concern around the world as far as AI taking up jobs is concerned. And to talk more about this, let me go across to my guests who are joining us. Professor Toby Walsh is joining us. He's a scientia professor of artificial intelligence at the University of New South Wales. He's the winner of the prestigious Celestino Eureka Prize for promoting understanding of science. I'm also joined by Mr. Dan Fitzpatrick, author of the AI Classroom and founder of the AIeducator.io. He's a ChatGPT expert, somebody who's a leading voice in how education systems respond to AI. We're also expecting Mr. Sanjay Varma, co-founder of Kalido, to join us. But thanks very much. Welcome to this special broadcast, gentlemen. Can I begin with you, Professor Toby Walsh, and ask you, there's a lot of talk about how AI is replacing us at our workplaces. There's a huge amount of concern, and it is now being called our new colleague. Should we call AI our new colleague or a new intern who has a lot of training and learning to do?
I think it's somewhere in between. It's certainly going to be the useful AI assistants that help us do things, do many of the things that our entry-level colleagues would do. That is worrying if you're someone who's just starting out in the workforce, because we've seen in certain countries a rapid decline in job adverts for people for entry-level jobs. Those are the sorts of things that generative AI, ChatGPT and the like seems to be able to do quite well. So it's going to be disruptive. No one really knows the net impact. Will it create more jobs than it destroys? We don't know.
Dan, a lot of talk about how AI is replacing jobs around the world. Can I just sort of get a clarification from you as to whether the reason is AI replacing jobs as fast as it may seem like, or is it the general economic slowdown that companies are now cutting down on employees and sort of putting that on artificial intelligence?
Yeah, I think it's both. So I think if we were sat here 2 years ago, and many of us were talking about how AI might start to replace entry-level jobs, and just like Professor Toby just said, we're starting to see the impact of that right now, and we have more and more graduates that aren't able to get into those entry-level jobs. So we're seeing I suppose, a replacement, but that replacement, in a sense, is because existing workers are starting to use artificial intelligence as a co-worker. And in a real sense, I think again, going back 3 years, we got very excited about AI being able to write an email for us. Actually, the people who are making the biggest impact in the workplace right now with AI are those who are building systems where the AI doesn't just produce content for them, but they're working alongside the AI. And we see Anthropic release Claude Cowork last week, and it's just another sign that this is the direction that we're heading in.
Okay, let me also introduce and welcome Mr. Sanjay Varma, co-founder of Kalido. He is, Kalido is a World Economic Forum technology pioneer. He's also somebody who's been at Alibaba's core member team and an early investor. Sanjay Varma, welcome to our special broadcast. We've been talking about how AI is being used to write our emails, it's replacing jobs. But here's the thing, that a lot of young people in our newsrooms who use ChatGPT, for example, for the longest time, ChatGPT named Donald Trump as the former US president when he was already the 47th president, much to the dislike of the American president. How do we rely on AI?
Good question. I mean, ChatGPT came out in November 2022, right? Only 3 years ago. And I think everybody would agree that the pace of acceleration and improvement of these AI models is incredible. So you will always find some hallucinations, but I think it's fair to say that there are going to be fewer and fewer hallucinations as we go forward. Just in the points that were mentioned earlier about work and the future of work and jobs, I think one thing really to talk about over here is how we really define work and a job, right? I think the panelists over here would agree that one of the biggest challenges we have today is really stems from our education system, where the kids have been trained to think very linearly and to think about how to get the right skill for the right job. And I think all that needs to change given where the future of AI is taking us.
Talking about kids and AI, Dan, since you're somebody who has been tracking all of these changes that are coming in the field of education, I want to understand from you, children are being taught AI, they're also being taught the advantages and the disadvantages of AI, but parents fear that perhaps critical thinking is something that they will lose out on if they keep on keeping up with the times that we're living in, and that is the time of AI.
Absolutely, and that friction is right at the heart of education at the moment. I'd like to maybe come back on you. I don't think every school, college and university are teaching these skills neither. I think some are starting to move forward with this. Some are lagging way behind and putting their own students at a disadvantage, I think. And I think how we move forward with this is that we don't be afraid of it. We look at how this can be integrated in a way that does support critical thinking. But I think to just think that this isn't happening is a huge mistake. And I think we'll see colleges and universities and schools who do that start to become more and more relevant as the years go on.
Sanjay, do you agree with that? The fact that there is a lot of concern as well. There is something that we need to look out for. Yes, children need to keep up with the times. Not all universities and colleges are training students in that manner, but of course there is a certain effort being made to be more inclusive as far as AI is concerned.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's teaching AI in isolation is important. But I think teaching AI in the right context is even more important. And let me explain to you what I'm saying about this. I think the future of work is drastically changing, and we're seeing it in front of our own eyes. Companies are not hiring as much. Companies are laying off people, and these are companies that are more tech savvy. And as you get more and more companies that become tech savvy, you're going to see more layoffs. So the real question is, what do we do with the children today? Do we teach them AI in isolation, or do we try and teach them critical thinking in terms of entrepreneurship? How do you identify a problem? How do you identify the solution? How do you use AI to create a business plan? And that's where I think the crux of the future really lies in enabling, in reframing work from a job to value creation. If we can reframe that to value creation, then every child that goes out there, whether it's from kindergarten to primary school, secondary to university, they come out not thinking about where's my next job. They think about how do I create value as the world changes, and the world's changing really, really fast. And I think the reality also is that the young generation right now, as Dan rightly said, we're graduating. Them getting jobs, they're finding a tough time getting jobs. But that's if they think linearly, right? If they think about how do I create value using AI, I think the world of opportunity is immense.
Okay. Toby, we're talking about children and young adults getting skilled to keep up with AI, but there are also a large segment and a large number of mid-career professionals who are now suddenly having to deal with AI at work and suddenly learn a lot of new things that are coming in. And we all know that tech and AI is something that keeps on evolving every minute. And therefore, my question is, what do mid-career professionals need to unlearn to keep up with the times?
Well, probably one of the most common questions I get from people is, how do they make themselves AI-proof, or how do they make their children AI-proof? And the answer I always give them is, you want to do the things that machines aren't any good at. So that's already mentioned: critical thinking skills, communication skills, social and emotional intelligence, the creativity. Those are the things that are going to distinguish you from the machines. Equally, it's the people who learn how to use the AI tools to amplify their productivity, to make themselves more employable. Those are the people that are going to, in the first place, AI is not going to take your job. It's someone who knows how to use AI, who is that much more productive, that's going to take your job.
And so let me take this across to Dan. Dan, a lot of times AI productivity, when we talk about it, we talk about volume and less about the value that it brings in. What do recruiters, what do employers need to teach to their workforce in terms of bringing in value while we talk about AI productivity using AI tools?
Yeah, I think that word productivity is mainly being taken as kind of I suppose a definition of how do we get things done faster or get less things done in a shorter space of time. I don't think that's how we should really look at this technology. I think that if you are coming to artificial intelligence and building artificial intelligence skills, don't think I'm going to save 2 hours a week by doing this. I just don't think that's going to be a reality at the moment. I think what's more of a reality is you put the same amount of effort and the same amount of time and skills into a task, for example, and you get to a better place. You get to, as has been discussed, you produce more value with that because you've got this generative AI partner that can help you develop your own skills and help you get insights into the value that you're offering. But I think, going back to what's been said, that value piece is so important. And I think it's why I always advocate when I'm in working skills, that entrepreneurial skills. And I don't necessarily mean the ability to create a business, but I mean the ability to be able to find problems and craft solutions and then be able to demonstrate the value of those solutions is going to be the number one skill going forward, whether you are at school, whether you've got your own business, or whether you work for a company.
Sanjay, since we're talking about generative AI, there's obviously that transition that has happened from generative AI to agentic AI now. And a big concern around the world is the fact that where do we draw the red line when we're giving permission to AI to work on behalf of the employee? Where does that come in?
Does it have to come in? I mean, the reality is, right, with Gen AI...
No, but the thing is it 100% reliable? if we don't get the red line?
No, it's not 100% reliable, and I don't think it ever will be 100% reliable, right? And I think that's okay as well. The thing about AI, the way we need to think about it is we need to look at it not as a linear a tool that can help us grow in a linear fashion, but really exponential. And when you're growing in an exponential fashion, when it can allow you to actually, think about a problem, think about a solution, create an output in an exponential fashion, there will be mistakes, there will be red lines, and that is okay. So I actually do not think that's the biggest, or that's a problem, really.
Okay. Toby, do you agree with that? Also the fact that, since humans are feeding AI, do humans then stand at a risk of perhaps forgetting how the job was actually done, the underlying job that has now been transferred to AI? Would that sort of logical, rational thinking be forgotten by the human mind eventually in the long term?
I do worry that we're going to dumb ourselves down. We don't remember telephone numbers. We outsource that to our handphones these days. If we don't write, we may forget those communication skills. That's very important. So yes, it may be the machines become smarter than us, not because they've become any smarter, but we've become more stupid. And I would disagree that we do have to think about where to draw the red lines. There are certain high stakes decisions, whether it be hiring decisions or welfare decisions or decisions, life or death decisions. Talk about using AI in the military, where we're literally handing over the decision as to who lives or who dies to a machine. Those are where we need to keep meaningful human oversight. Because at the end of the day, we can't hold a robot accountable for its decisions. We can only hold a human accountable for the decisions that humans make.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so we need to keep.
Which is what I was coming to. Who do you hold accountable if there's a mistake, if there's an error? There have been past instances where AI tools have made an error, and that's why a lot of companies fear that, if this is completely relied upon and the job is completely transferred to AI tools, even the smallest, the tiniest of error can cause crores of rupees being lost by the company. Dan?
Well, that's why we're always.
To be honest, I don't think this is a new problem. I think we have factories where machines make errors, where things aren't, and the company takes the blame for it. We have systems, we have political systems, we have. We live in a world where we have systems that kind of fail sometimes, and I don't think. Treating an AI is going to be too different from that. Whoever runs that system, whoever puts their faith in that system, still going to have to be responsible for it. Which means, and I think it's probably even more need there for what we call AI literacy and being able to determine what is the best tools to use, what outcome we're looking for. And there was a KPMG report that was just released last week that showed that CEOs of companies are now taking AI-level decisions into their own hands, and rightfully so. I think they've realised that this isn't a tech project. This is something that goes into every area of a business and can be argued pretty much every area of life, or will come into every area of life at some point. So I don't think this is a new problem. I just think we need to adapt our thinking and still treat this like a systemic machine, as it were.
Okay. Toby, you were coming in earlier. Go ahead, please.
Well, yes, I agree that we are going to hold ultimately humans accountable, and one of the interesting things is that people have actually much higher put machines on much higher stakes than on humans. So, for example, we're going to have self-driving cars. Self-driving cars are going to save thousands of lives, but every time there's one mistake, people are outraged, and yet every day humans make mistakes, killing people on roads. And so it's interesting that we hold machines in many respects to higher standards than we hold humans in the same settings.
Isn't that the safe way to take when you have AI progressing so fast and evolving so fast?
Oh, it is. It is, because we do have this accountability problem. Who we're going to hold accountable? Therefore, it'd be best if machines were that much more reliable, and then we're going to have to worry less about when they do make mistakes, but that they will make mistakes, they're not infallible, and we will have to work out which humans, which companies to hold responsible for the mistakes, because they turn the machine on, they let the machine make those decisions.
Okay. Let me go through some numbers, Sanjay, and I want your response, your thoughts on this. As per a report, 39% of the existing skill set will be transformed or outdated between 2025 and 2030. 10% workers hired today have job titles which didn't exist back in 2000. And there are, of course, that entire debate about advanced economies, the aging population versus the youth dividend that developing economies have. Keeping this in mind, how prepared are we as employers, as employees, at the individual level, at the company level, at the community level, in dealing with this, what many call robocalypse? I would like to say just AI progression.
Short answer, I don't think we're prepared at all. Let me try and sort of unpeel, peel that. So if I look at the corporate, right, I think, to my point before, there is an acceleration in terms of embracing AI, and that's important for winning and for survival. And at the end of the day, when you look at enterprise, it is about, majority of times, it's about capitalism. And so those who can embrace AI as fast as possible will probably win. Now, I think there need to be guardrails. I mean, to the earlier point, I think it's important. But if I look at that and I look at society itself, and if I look at education, they're not prepared right now. The education system is not prepared. I think universities are struggling today. They're struggling to figure out, how do we educate our kids? How do we educate our undergrads and grads so they come out skilled? The problem is some of these programs are 4 years, 4-year programs. In 4 years, we have seen so much has changed. So somebody is going to go and start a philosophy degree or a degree in social science or economics, whatever it may be. In 4 years, what have they learned may really not help. And I think I think the institutions are thinking too slow and they're acting too slow. They're using human speed to change, whereas AI is obviously at a completely different speed. So there is a complete mismatch. Unless we sort of think about how to redefine work, understand exactly what skills are required from the base level, I think there'll always be a mismatch.
Okay. I'll leave it there. Well, back in 2016, the World Economic Forum had spoken of Industrial Revolution 4.0. We're in 2026. We're still talking about how AI has progressed and it is now replacing jobs and entering our schools and colleges. Let's wait and watch. That time, they'd said that AI is the future, but clearly the future is here. It is our present, and we'll have to wait and watch how the world grapples with it. At the moment, thank you very much to all of you gentlemen, Sanjay, Toby, as well as Dan, for joining me on WION and sharing your perspective. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right, with that, it's a wrap on this edition of our special series. Our broadcast from Davos 2026 will keep continuing. Every day we get a new theme for you. Tomorrow we'll come up with a new theme, a new topic of discussion. For now, thank you very much for joining us. Bye-bye.